So we have a beautiful refuge, a sanctuary of peace, a garden created by our guru. And in the center, we have a Windmill chapel, which is an inner sanctuary of peace.
It's a blue jewel and a mountain diadem.
My first impression when I walked into the lake shrine, I was a 17-year-old kid, and when we saw the Windmill Chapel, it was easy to get involved in the details. It pulled you and it absorbed you. It was like nothing in the culture. So to see this building that was overlain with this sense of specialness intrigued us. And from that, we went forward and read the autobiography.
The Windmill Chapel is one of the most unique pieces of architecture in SRF. I mean, it's just special.
It was a joy to, especially during construction, to once a week come here.
To enter the property knowing it's a meditative garden, but then to come around the corner and see a windmill is such an extraordinary surprise.
I remember meditating at night in the Windmill Chapel a few times. The moonlight was like streaming through the windows. There was just like a little candle illuminating the guru's faces. I remember just thinking it was very special to be in there.
I used to chapel sit, and people would come in from all walks of life. And I remember one lady, she took her shoes off, and someone asked her, you know, why are you taking your shoes off? And she's just like, I think you're supposed to here. And even that, just the reverence that people have, I think it really sets a tone.
And even though this is a very charming, quaint, rustic building, most people who come here really don't spend much time looking at the building. They come in the chapel and close their eyes and meditate. So what is the attraction?
Our guru said that wherever an enlightened master has walked, prayed, or meditated, a divine vibration stays for all time.
I felt Master was so strong here and that he had really left something. And I saw pictures of Master actually in this room. And it made it more and more real year after year, learning that my guru was that much more close to me.
I always really liked what Master said. He said he loved churches, he loved big temples, but he said he would rather have a few devotees under a tree who really want God. And the Windmill Chapel, to me, is kind of like that tree.
Paramahansa Yogananda sat in here and walked in here and communed with the infinite in here.
This was one of the first buildings that was on the property when Yogananda acquired it in 1949. They had set up a small temporary altar at one end, and almost from the very beginning it was used for meditation.
And upstairs on top of the windmill itself, that was housing for the senior monastics.
So it has a deep significance to our membership throughout the world to come to this place and meditate where our guru meditated.
The building, we think, was originally constructed in the late 1930s. And what's interesting about it is it's not what we would consider a folly. It's not a stage set. It's truly constructed as a windmill, and inclusive of the moving parts of the vanes and the cap. And it even had some of the mechanisms of what would have been a grain milling portion of the operation.
And it is authentic down to the inscription on the very entrance, which is in Dutch, and it says, "A hearty welcome to all who enter these portals."
Clearly, there's a history to this building that's coming from Europe. It's definitely a Dutch windmill structure, and whether portions of it were moved or whether it was just recreated here, we're not sure, but the methods of construction are completely different. For instance, the staircase is made out of an old technique called mortise and tenon, meaning there's no nails used. The staircase is actually put together with just wood joins. That's a method of construction you don't see today, and you don't see it in California often at all.
For the original builder to come up with this idea to build this as a home, and then the history of Yogananda actually coming here, acquiring this property, it's such a landmark.
Due to the exposure to the coastal environment, All of the external wood elements were suffering from deterioration. The fascia boards, the windows, any wood that was exposed to air was rotting.
And the windmill vanes were totally rotted. The fittings on the outside were rusted.
Our maintenance department did what they could from time to time, but just the natural aging of the building at one point dictated thinking about now's the time to not just fix it or maintain it, but to restore it.
I think what's unique about the project is that every detail about the existing building is different from other things. If you look at something on one side and you go around the corner, you can't assume that it's the same. And so we had to really look carefully at everything.
We have a very good photographic library history of the building, which was also a tremendous benefit throughout.
So they did a lot of the original documentation, they did a lot of the original archival searches to find old photographs.
Where we didn't know how the building was constructed, we conducted exploratory demolition. We removed small sections of the wall surfaces to try to find out how the building was put together.
Looking at the scope of the project, we realized that the tower of the Windmill Chapel really was not well connected to the walls and the body to withstand earthquakes. So from what originally we thought might be more of a basic restoration of the woodwork and painting and maybe replacing the plumbing and the electrical, turned into a major engineering job.
We had to insert two enormous steel beams, 18 feet long, to anchor the octagonal tower to the masonry shoebox at the bottom of the building. The purpose of the beams, in case of an earthquake, they're spreading the load from the vertical tower onto the horizontal part of the building.
They were not the only components. There was also what they call shear paneling on the superstructure. None of that is visible.
So there's interesting things about the project that you can't really see now that it's finished. In order to do the work on the windows and to do the structural work, we had to take all of the wall tiles off of the tower.
We looked, but we could not find any tile manufactured today that matches the existing tile from Master's time.
We had them all photographed and individually numbered, and then as they were being taken down, the numbers were written on the backs of the tiles. And then it's an octagonal building, so we had 8 sets of tiles, and we had 8 big boxes out in the parking lot that we put each of the sets of tiles into. They were all cleaned and then all put back exactly in their original positions. So even the stains on some of the tiles that couldn't be cleaned off still match up with the stains that are on the next tile next to them.
So everything's been strengthened, metal connectors everywhere, which you don't really see, which is nice. We didn't want to lose the flavor of the original work.
The fabric of the building has a great significance as a site of pilgrimage for our organization, for the membership throughout the world.
This project had an extraordinary amount of woodwork and millwork, which was all custom crafted, and SRF did a lot of that woodwork themselves.
14 years ago, we did the front gate project. So in this process, we were introduced to this old-growth salvage redwood up in Mendocino. That was about 6 years ago that we purchased all these big beams, not really knowing what we actually needed for this project.
And he and another monk worked to rebuild the windmill vanes, taking the original measurements and creating a new set of paddles that match the old dimensions out of this very rare old-growth redwood.
You know, those are 20 feet long with a taper. We cut those out of one piece of wood. I mean, it's just absolutely amazing. But we ended up actually using all the wood that we purchased down to the very last piece. It's almost impervious to termites, rotting, because of the tannin which develops after 400 years, which these trees are. And then all your fascias around the building, and every piece of wood on the outside of the building is salvaged old-growth redwood. That's going to last, you know, hundreds of years, hopefully.
So it's these painstaking efforts that we made during construction to preserve the legacy material of the building.
The love and the care they brought to that process was extraordinarily unique.
The windmill was entirely funded through devotees' donations, but without the dedicated service of those involved, there's no way we could have completed the project for the amount that we did. It could have cost easily twice as much as what it ended up costing us.
What's extremely rewarding is that we're connecting people across time. So this restoration is a process of bringing forward people from the past and their stories and connecting them with us today.
I think the windmill has a lot of significance to devotees, both because Master was in the building and left his vibrations there, and also because I think the place has a lot of memories of where people either started the path or have seen their spiritual life develop.
There's new windows, and the carpet is new, and everything's just fresh, but it has that same vibration. I feel in the Windmill Chapel, the presence that people feel is actually Master's presence. It's so strong there.
It's tangible, and I think that's the big attraction of the Windmill Chapel. It's sort of the center of that omnipresent spiritual vibration that Yogananda left here.
There's something about being enclosed in an interior space. It's like his presence bounces off the walls and reverberates and builds up in the center of the room. So for me, that's what this place is.
So the Windmill Chapel is special for everybody. And as you will hear, whether somebody tunes in with the vibrations here consciously or does not, they would feel the vibrations of this place, the peace that is in this shrine.
It's always amazed me to observe the visitors to the Lake Shrine, and especially those that come into the Windmill Chapel and spend a little time. Obviously, not all of them are members of Self-Realization Fellowship. They may not be seekers of God. It may not even be something spiritual that drew them here. You don't know what the problem is, but you can see it reflected in their face. And so many times, countless times, I've seen those same people half an hour later when they leave, there'll be a little more light in their face or they'll look a little more relaxed.
There is a quiet personal transformation that has taken place. And I believe that this is the purpose for which Paramahansa Yogananda gave us the Lake Shrine and especially the Windmill Chapel.
So I'm really happy that it got to be restored and that there are enough funds and that everything ended up working out really beautifully.
And to see this project to go forward for more time, a place where Master walked, and a place that was important in the last day of his life, and that has been supported by people worldwide, is just a testament to the viability and the importance of this teaching.
This project would not have been possible without the donations, and maybe more important, the prayers and just enthusiastic support for the project that has made it the great success that it is. We talk about the self-realization spiritual family. One thing that has always impressed me about this building is the fact that it's more than just our members who come here. That feeling of family has spread far beyond Self-Realization Fellowship. So to all members and friends of Self-Realization Fellowship, thank you so much.
Through your donations and your support, you have made a completely restored chapel possible. And we look forward to opening its doors and welcoming all of you.
So now we will formally cut the ribbon and declare Guruji's chapel renovated, back in business.
Come and meditate and feel the peace. One of my favorite quotes of Master is a very simple one. Create within yourself a chamber of peace. In this secret chamber of peace, God will visit you.
When Master was here, the day before he left his body, he sat at the organ and chanted, "Light the lamp of thy love," and we've lit the outer lamp, but let's light the inner lamp now. And we've got Master's organ, and one of our devotees will play "Light the lamp of thy love," and all of you please join in. It's his living presence that continues to draw people from all over the world and will continue to draw people
with thine own hands light the lamp of thy love. My house with thine own hands light the lamp of thy love. Thy transmuting lamp entrancing, thy transmuting lamp entrancing, wondrous are its rays. Change my darkness to thy light, Lord, change my darkness to thy light, and my evil into good. Touch me but once and I will change, touch me but once and I will change, all thy clay into thy own. All the senseless that I did lie, sooted into worries,